The talk is called A Third Way, and it's really based on the teachings of the Catholic priest and writer Richard Rohr, who is amazing. And as our annual theme is, as we know, infinite voices of truth, it's fun to get some voices in that are really from a very different tradition than ours, a very different perspective. And he often writes about the desire to move beyond the polarities, beyond the extremities, into another way to interact that has more collaboration, more joining of consciousness. 4 years ago, approximately, I gave what I thought was an excellent message on understanding one another and having compassion for one another and staying out of these extreme vibes. It was heading into the election season, and you may remember it was a little intense, that particular election cycle. And I was just feeling like, wow, we have done our work. They get it, we get it. And I walked out into the parking lot, right into a conversation of 5 or 6 of our beloveds, talking about how stupid they are. How they don't get it, and they're gonna ruin this country, and we're all going to hell in a handbasket because of those stupid people. Now, it doesn't matter what perspective that circle of people had or what perspective the stupid people had. I just felt like going, come back into the sanctuary. We gotta do it all over again. My brilliant message had not sunk in. And I'm starting to hear it again. Online, at dinner parties. Whew, it's an intense time, and the intensity is starting to ratchet up and ratchet up and ratchet up. We say, we, New Vision Center, Centers for Spiritual Living, the New Thought Movement, we say that we make space for everyone, that we are radically inclusive. We make space for everyone. But if we can stand in the parking lot and have a conversation about how stupid an entire group of people are, how inhuman an entire group of people are, are we getting it? No. If we can stand in a circle and talk about how our teaching is the right one and all the other teachings are the wrong one, are we getting it? No. No. It's actually, are you ready for this? It's against our religion to do that. That might be like the only thing that's actually against our religion. And yet we do it, don't we? Yep, it's a very human thing to do. Because it is difficult to live in the polarity. It's difficult to live in the divine paradox. It's easy to slide back into that human way of doing it. So what is a polarity? This is important because we live in it, right? A polarity is a paradoxical situation in which two seemingly opposite yet interdependent states need to coexist over time in order for success to occur. We cannot only live on one side and stay functional. The classic example of this is inhale, exhale. We talk about balance, right? Everybody inhale. Keep inhaling. We're team inhale. Go inhale. And then we exhale, because we have to, right? It's more than just we need both sides. It's this cycle that happens. There's a problem. There's too much carbon dioxide in my body, so I need to inhale. Oh dear. Oh dear. Now I need to release the carbon dioxide, so we exhale. Oh no, now I need oxygen, so I inhale. Oh no, now there's too much carbon dioxide, so I exhale. It feels like inhale, exhale are opposite perspectives that cannot coexist. But we cannot stay alive unless we move through the cycle gently. And hopefully we are moving through it gently instead of ping-ponging from one side to the other like a pendulum swing, like we did with the inhaling and not wanting to exhale and only exhaling when we thought we were going to die. It's funny when we talk about breathing, right? Because we all know this. But then we start looking at what the government does with everything goes over here. And then the election changes and everybody spends all the energy on doing what they did over there and they run over here. And then the election changes and we all spend all the time and nothing gets done. And we still can't fund our schools or healthcare properly because we're so caught in the pendulum. Because we think we can't have the values of this side and the values of this side in a place that lives together. But what if there's a third way? What if there is a different way to approach this? Now, I don't want to give the impression that either or thinking is bad. We need it. Our brain is designed to work this way. And sometimes you need either or thinking. When the house is on fire, you need to be able to decide conclusively, do I go get the fire retardant and try to put it out, or do I leave the house? And we need to decide quickly, which is why our brain is designed that way. It's important. We need it for society to function. We need to decide, are we going to pay for it, or are we going to steal it? Right? It's important. Either or thinking is important. And to think that it is bad is falling into the same thing. It's falling into the either or. The both and. Oh, we love a both and around here, don't we? Our teaching is literally built on it, the both and thinking. There's space for everyone. There's openness for everything. Let's stay in the conversation and let it steep and mine its richness. And nothing is ever going to get done or decided, but we'll have sparkling conversations and we'll all feel really good about it. And our leadership council meetings will go for hours and hours. There are members of our community who are long-time, decades-long members who will not be on a major committee or team because the consensus process feels too open-ended for them and they just want to get it done. We need both. We need both. And we need to find a way to embrace them at the same time. In that openness place, Reverend Catherine McDowell is fond of saying, don't be so spiritual that you're of no earthly use. And I've found myself there. I think we all have a time or two. So how do we find a third way? How do we find a third way? First of all, we have to get past the resistance, and we resist. Oh, the white-knuckled grip. Holding on to what we think is right and true. In the book Navigating Polarities, which is a fantastic read if you're interested in these sorts of things, it's Brian Emerson and Kelly Lewis. They write this: when people who are attached to a perception bump up against others who hold the opposite perspective, they can get resistant and even recalcitrant as the things they value and therefore identify their identity are being threatened. Can you relate? They go on to say, the threat to the ego can trigger responses in the brain that drive people to protect themselves and in turn lower their willingness to be open and vulnerable to other ways of thinking and being. They might as well have said, the threat to the ego can drive people to protect themselves and stand in parking lots explaining how the people that see things the other way are stupid and maybe evil. And who has found themselves doing that? Right? One way or another, we fall into it because our brains are built in such a way that we think what I believe is right, therefore anything that argues with it is wrong. The thing is, the path to no, not different than me, not open to it, not interested, not human beings, not good people. That path can never lead to a place of peace. It cannot. It inherently takes half of the population and makes them unworthy of the air we breathe. We're going to leave them in the exhale. They don't get the inhale part. And then we say, absolutely unironically, that New Vision Center is radically inclusive if you're like-minded. Ooh, I want to banish the word like-minded from this campus. And online friends, that means your house too. Now, do I have the power to do that? No, because it's not a science of my thing to go in your vocabulary and take it away. Sometimes I really envy the ministers and pastors and priests and teachers from teachings that can just tell you, no, you're not allowed to do it. We don't do that. I would love to banish it. The phrase like-minded, because here's the deal. We love to say that we're radically inclusive, don't we? And we feel good about it. We want that to be true. But if it's only true about people who are like-minded, people who are like us, if we resist every time we feel uncomfortable, and we do, don't we? It's a tendency. I'm uncomfortable with that. Uncomfortable is a synonym for unfamiliar. Let that sink in. Uncomfortable is a synonym for unfamiliar. And if we push away everything that is unfamiliar to us, it will always stay uncomfortable. The cure for discomfort lays in allowing ourselves to become familiar, to allow ourselves to sit in the discomfort and keep our heart and arms open anyway. And as we become more familiar, guess what happens? We become more comfortable. And then we enjoy that. And so the cycle returns again, and we open up to another wave of that which we are unfamiliar with. That's what being radically inclusive is. Saying we're radically inclusive and then really only welcoming people that are just like us is actually running a social club and calling it something else. Ooh, take a breath. That's a hard truth. But we intend to be radically inclusive here. Yes? 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 I know I'm saying a lot of words, but I know that to be true. And then there are moments when something uncomfortable happens. Someone shows up here who thinks differently, who looks a little different, who comes from a different background. And ooh, there's the discomfort. And I invite us to stay in it until it becomes a little bit more comfortable. See, the polarities, like me, not like me, must be interdependent. Not so very long ago, someone approached me about something that they were uncomfortable. Somebody did a thing. It made them uncomfortable. And their question was like, but what if people aren't comfortable with that? We don't want people to leave. And I thought, and then I said, because there's very little space between I think and I say, as you probably know, there are people in this world, in this country, who would be uncomfortable with two men sitting together and holding hands. I personally get a little giggly happy every time I see it, because I remember a time when that wasn't something that you could maybe do at church, but you can at ours, and I love it. There are people who maybe wouldn't be comfortable with the open displays of affection that we are very comfortable with here, the big hugs and the smooches on cheeks. Should we not do that just in case somebody's uncomfortable? No, right? There are people in this country who would be very uncomfortable to see a woman up here. God forbid, a young woman who listens to Taylor Swift. I mean, questionable choices all around. You gonna kick me off? Probably not, probably not. There are people in this country who would be uncomfortable attending service in a place where we do not say that Jesus Christ is our one and only Lord and Savior and everyone else is wrong. See, the line never ends. Everything everyone does ever makes someone uncomfortable somewhere. Discomfort can't be where we draw the line if we are any kind of inclusive, let alone radically. And this teaching is designed to always pull us forward, 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 and deeper, deeper, deeper into the truth of who we are. And the truth of who we are makes space for every kind of love, every kind of being, every kind of way of thinking. Because if everybody can't have freedom, we don't have freedom. And that's just true. That's just true. Accountability and forgiveness. Security and freedom. Conservative and generous. They're all of these seeming polarities, hold it in and let it out, that must live together in some form of balance, which is the spiritual quality we would call this, for all of us to thrive. In a stuck dispute, polarities are always the problem. We're struggling to let necessary independent polarities coexist. We have to open to understand the real problem, to move past the polarity and understand the real problem, to find a third way. So, a story from my life. A few years ago, Bobby and I were wanting to rearrange our finances to make space for a different way, a different thing we wanted to put our money into. And that inherently meant spending some less money on things we had traditionally spent money on. And we had carved out things like he was going to buy one less guitar. And I was going to maybe tone down the yarn purchasing a little bit. And we still kind of weren't where we needed to go. And we found ourselves in an absolute loggerhead over him saying we should get rid of the housekeeper, and me saying, and I quote, "I don't care if we have to sell every single thing we own and live in a pile of dirt, we will have a housekeeper." In a very mature way, I said that. And it just went and went and went. And I was to the point where I thought we were never going to find a solution until finally he was, and it's always him, guys. It's always him. He was, "Why are you so stuck on this? Why are you so stuck on us having this once a week help? We're adults. We can clean our house. Why are you so stuck on this?" And here come the tears. Because sometimes I can't. Most of you know I have health problems, and they do this thing, right? As many challenges do. And sure, I can clean my house except for the days I can't. And there is something so scary to me about sitting in a space that isn't working because I can't do it. And getting a housekeeper was my claiming my power that, okay, maybe I can't do it, but I can cause it to be done. Thank God for ministerial school for teaching me that phrase. Love it. I can cause it to be done. We got a housekeeper, and it really, really helped me. And when he realized that's what I was holding on to, not some sense of I deserve to get the luxury, but it was this other thing, something changed. And he said, "Well, what can you do that we pay someone else to do that doesn't feel so scary?" And I can weed a yard like nobody's business because I can sit and do it. And I actually like it. I like weeding. So we got rid of the gardener instead. And we could have stayed in that maid or no maid forever. But we found the third way. There is always a third way. So how can we, in our own minds, in our own hearts, in our own lives, open up to this idea of finding the third way? There are 3 thoughts that we can keep in mind that help us stay open to this possibility. The first one, more than one thing can be true at the same time. My truth is true, but that doesn't mean their truth isn't also true. More than one thing can be true at the same time, even if they seem opposite. We stay open to that idea. Second, I don't have to understand things to accept them. I do not have to be able to relate. I do not have to have that life experience. I do not have to agree with it. But I can accept that that's how they feel and that there's a reasonable reason for it that I may never know, but I don't need to know. I do not have to understand to accept. And 3, curiosity is a greater gift than getting my way. Because only through curiosity can we open up to ask that question that my husband so brilliantly asked. Why? Why is this so important to you? Help me understand. So this is the invitation this week and all through this ever-escalating election season. Explore these thoughts, these 3 thoughts that invite you to seek a third way. Do your very best when you catch yourself in this to do this. And so it is. Let's anchor that with some prayer. Oh, how good it is to just be in this energy together, remembering that there is this infinite presence that is forever and ever calling us higher and deeper into the truth of who we are. And that is true of everyone, that just as we are made in the likeness and image of infinite spirit, so is everyone. That just as we love our families, so does everyone. That just as we crave connection, so does everyone. Just as we desire security, so does everyone. Just as we call forth the good in our life, so does everyone. And Spirit is there for each and every sentient being. Because it's the root of all that is. And so whatever is going on in each of our lives that brought us into this space today, seeking comfort or upliftment or love or an expansion of the good that already is, we know that that's already happening for each one of us and for everyone. That there is a third way, a place of love where every need can be met, and we open up to the divine wisdom that allows us to be a channel for that good. We open up to the willingness to be uncomfortable so that love can find a path through us in a new way. How grateful I am in advance for all of the good that comes from this time we have shared together, that comes simply from our being on this planet. It is good and very good, and so it is.